Physically, I didn't want to be there. Mentally, quite frankly, I definitely didn't want to be there. I felt as if I couldn't take it. So ultimately, I quit. Howdy folks, how's it going? It's your boy, Mindset Coach Trev, and welcome to a very special video. You know, I realized the other day that I had just kind of jumped into things, kicking out those techniques and tactics and strategies as fast as I can. And while that's fantastic, of course, I want to provide that value. I also realized that, this work doesn't work unless you really have a connection with the individual that you're talking to. So I wanted to take a little time out today to explain a little bit of my backstory, a little bit about how we've gotten here, right? Why is it that I'm standing here each day uploading videos, sending them your way about the mental game, right? About how to fine tune our mindset. Well, the truth is there's a history to this. I have a past. And today I want to unpack that with you. I want to put it on display, and I want to make sure you understand just how much I really care about this work. So with that said, let's not waste any time, folks. Let's dive into it. And we're going to operate from this timeline right here. This timeline is going to lay it out all beautifully for us from the very start of things to where we're currently at here today. And along that journey, we're going to take little pit stops, little breaks at the most formational and influential moments I've experienced. Funny enough, in each and every one of those, I can pull out a little chip, a little something that makes me realize just why I am the way I am today. Right? It's that brilliant reminder that we're all mosaics, and each experience we're having builds us into who we are in the present, in the here and now. So let's take it back in time about 30 years and let's launch off. So to kick this story off, we got to go way down this timeline almost 30 years ago, and we got to land ourselves in the old Lone Star State. That's right, baby, Tejas, Texas. That's where your boy was born and raised. Small little town there called Grapevine, Texas, about 60,000 folks or so, wedged right in between Fort Worth and Dallas. Growing up, I thought it was fantastic. I loved this kind of Wild West that I got to learn about as a kid, especially the Cowboys, the good ones, not the ones that attempt to play football on Sundays. And I just fell in love with this adventurous spirit, right? This exploration, just all of it. Frankly, I think it was a lot of this kind of Western culture and folklore that influenced my imagination growing up. It was big and bold, to be quite frank. There were many a days where I'm sure my mom wasn't quite sure if I was okay because I was playing dress up and all these funny little games out in the backyard for hours. One of the games I particularly always loved to play was imagining I was a firefighter. I think I was that for Halloween about 4, 5, 6 years in a row. One day I really got the itch though and decided that my dresser looked like a brilliant ladder to climb. So I pulled each one of those drawers out just so I could get my hands and feet in them, climbed to the top, and once I got to the top, that whole thing tumbled over. It was by an absolute grace of God or whomever you put it on that I did not die in an absolute tragedy that day, getting squished by my dresser. But that imagination, quite frankly, has stuck with me ever since. Maybe not to quite the same degree, or at least I don't show it or showcase it in the same ways now. However, it's absolutely paramount to the work that I do. It helps me think outside the box, look at issues and problems from perhaps a just slightly different perspective than what my normal day-to-day life would tell me to do. Now, while dress up and the imagination were certainly all fun and games, it wasn't much longer until I really fell in love with a game that I was captivated by. That was the game of basketball. I can still clearly remember my very first practices. I think we were the Rockets, and I can actually remember my very first tryout. I was so hyped, I was so wrapped up in it all that I had always heard that true hoopers don't wear their shoes into the gym. So thinking about this, as I packed, I made sure I packed them in my duffel. When I got to the gym, I remember opening the duffel up, and I didn't just bring the shoes. I brought the shoes in the box with the stuffing still in the shoes in the box. I was absolutely just captivated, in love with it. The fast-paced nature, the teamwork, individuality of it, just the entire combination of what the sport of basketball presented. And a little bit of a foreshadowing or previewing, that day was actually incredibly influential because it shaped what the rest of my life would look like for the next 15 years and even for today. I very quickly realized that basketball was frankly all I wanted to focus on. It's all I wanted to do. I quit baseball. I certainly gave up soccer, tried football out for a year because that's what you're supposed to do in Texas, but very quickly realized it wasn't for me. I wanted to be on that hardwood. I wanted to knock down those threes, and because your boy was a little bit taller, I had that vision of being able to dunk. I was just absolutely wrapped up in it all. So much so that as I made my way through my middle school years, I'm not quite sure I really paid enough attention to what it meant to be social or what it meant to be able to hold a conversation, right? Spend those years being quite shy, quite quiet, just kind of hanging around, right? Not quite sure who I fit in with, as many students do at that age. While at the point this wasn't always the most fun, as I look back retrospectively, I realize all those years were spent observing, just watching, taking it in, listening to the conversations that people had. At that point, wishing I could do the same. But now I realize just how valuable that was. When I do my work now as a performance consultant, and I look around at either teams or organizations or even individuals, I can lean into this historically rooted sense of observation. It's something that I love about the world now. Even just going downtown Philadelphia, downtown San Francisco when I lived out there, and just watching, listening, taking in the world around us. So while it wasn't always the greatest thing then, it's certainly paid off by now. So I kept trucking through those middle school years. I really poured my life into it, working out with trainers, playing on the AAU circuit, doing the whole nine. This is all I cared about. This was my ticket. This is all I was thinking about doing. I had them NBA dreams, playing professional, whatever it may be. I was just enthralled by it. Well, as I made my way through middle school, things went pretty well actually on the basketball court, right? Found myself having some success. The physical ability, my height, these certain advantages I had, the hard work, they were giving me the edge. They were allowing me to succeed. Very little did I know, though, that only lasts for a certain amount of time. As you continue to play the game, folks catch up. And that height, that 6'3", ain't really that tall anymore. And that speed ain't really that quick anymore. And as I got into high school, this was the rude awakening that I very quickly had. When it came to high school, yeah, it was a nice time, but frankly, I wouldn't ever go back. I know some people love it. Me, that ain't really my style. Made a lot of great friends, had some incredible experiences, but what's done is done. I continued to lean into the basketball side of things, but got a very rude awakening when I hopped out onto the AAU circuit out there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I joined up with the Dallas Mustangs, as you see here, and we had quite an athletic crew. I mean, we were definitely skilled. The teamwork, unfortunately, wasn't necessarily there, and we had a bit of a bumpy season. I still remember one game where my coach actually got kicked out for arguing. Yeah, that was awkward. But anywho, I learned so much about what it meant to be a teammate, what it meant to work with different types of people from different environments and different backgrounds. It was a phenomenal experience that I certainly wouldn't ever want to skip over. However, as high school progressed and as I got to that so valuable junior and senior year, the recruiting and the opportunities weren't quite showing up like I wanted them to or like I expected them to. And frankly, this is when things really got a bit rough. I was disappointed. I was frustrated. I just wasn't getting the success I wanted, even though I was putting in endless amounts of work. I would do our practices. I would do weights in the morning. I had a trainer to come for 2 or 3 hours after that. It was non-stop. Nonetheless, while my physical game somewhat improved, the whole picture didn't really progress. It didn't really move on like I wanted it to. This unfortunately got so bad that at a certain point I decided, I think I'm done with hoops. It was mind-boggling, and frankly, at the time, I don't even think I really comprehended what I was saying. But I had made the decision. Once that senior season ended, I was done. Forget about all the trips for AAU, forget about all the showcases and tournaments and jams and jamborees that I had attended. I was ready to let go of it. I didn't think it served me anymore. I just thought life might be better living another way. So I decided to lean into that. And when I say I leaned in, boy, did I lean in. My first year of university, of college, I headed on down to Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas. I'd given up the basketball dream and decided, hey, I'm just gonna be a normal student. I'm just gonna be a normal guy living my life. Well, boy, did I live my life. Very quickly, that lack of structure, that lack of routine led to 3 a.m. tacos, partying way more than I needed to, and frankly, not putting much priority on the books. Yeah, I made my way through, but it didn't take more than a few months to realize this wasn't for me. I missed hoops so much. I missed being on the court. I missed having teammates. I missed the challenge. I missed having something that kind of felt like it mattered in my day-to-day life. So, called up mom and dad, said, yo, we're turning this plane around, all right? I'm gonna finish up this year, but then it's back to the court. Let me figure out what I gotta do. So from then on, for the next quite a few weeks, months, I was just head on it, right? I was in the gym, playing every pickup game I could, getting in the most competitive intramurals I could, hitting the weights when I could. And then in the meantime, on weekends, taking visits to different schools to see where I could get back in the action. The unfortunate part was all those opportunities that I might have had earlier on in life and just didn't think were right for me were now gone. And I was starting at the bottom. I remember going to Kansas, to Arkansas, and even Iowa to try to find the junior college that I was going to try to go walk on at. It was a complete 180 from what I thought I'd ever be experiencing. Through it all, however, I reluctantly made a decision and I committed to going up to Iowa, Mason City, Iowa, which I know you've never heard of, to play basketball at North Iowa Area Community College. North Iowa Area Community College, yes, that's a mouthful, or NIAC for short, much easier, was quite literally in the middle of a cornfield. I remember showing up in August for the start of school, going up into my dorm, which kind of looked like a prison, and just thinking to myself, what the hell have I done? What have I gotten myself into? Nonetheless, we'll give it a try. Let's see how it goes. I must say, the next 2 years of my life were absolutely memorable. Not only for the hoops, but realistically, mainly for the relationships I made, the teammates I had, the memories that were formed. Teammates from all over the world, Australia, Netherlands, the Virgin Islands, all throughout the States. To this day, actually, a few of my very best friends are teammates from that time. As things progressed, though, once again, I was starting to run into these same roadblocks. The minutes I got, sure, I made the most out of, but I couldn't quite get myself to that next level. I couldn't quite perform the way I know I needed to really earn the respect of the coach and secure that spot at a 4-year university, right? Defensively, effort-wise, yeah, it was there. Great. I had a great IQ, sure. But I really couldn't turn the corner on the offensive side of the ball. I couldn't have that aggression. I couldn't find that confidence. Again, didn't matter how many hours I put in, how many reps I got, something just wasn't connecting. One very funny story that I think represents the experience I had there was an away game that we had, and the bus we were taking wasn't quite large enough to fit the entire team. So we either needed 1 or 2 people to sit back or to ride in some other type of transportation. I clearly remember my coach approaching me and saying, you know, Trevor, this is something we never do, but would you be willing to drive one of the school vehicles to the game so that we can bring the entire team? This really symbolized what I had created here at NIAC. Great relationships, fantastic trust, clearly, but on the court, not quite crossing that line, not quite being able to really turn things into what I had worked up in my head. By some way, by a lot of creativity, a lot of problem solving, and just again, a lot of hard work, I emailed hundreds of coaches, reached out to just about anybody I could to see where can I get on next. Luckily, my email, quite literally, was answered by a coach down in Arizona, down in the desert. Going from the Midwest where it got to negative 50 degrees down to the desert where it gets to 120. I said, why not? Let's go for it, right? Let's keep this adventure rolling. Let's see what's out there. I was pretty optimistic. I'm a pretty open and positive type of guy. So let's roll down to the desert, let's get comfy, and let's see how this all goes. When I get down to Arizona, I am absolutely in for a surprise, to say the absolute least. Picture this. So I'm stepping into this new university, and when I say new, quite literally, I mean new. This campus itself had only been there for maybe two years, I think, something along these lines. On top of that, this was going to be the first year of their men's basketball program. So here I was, coming from thousands of miles away to a new environment, somewhere I knew nothing about and knew no one, and we were going to see if we could make it work. We were going to see what the heck was going to come out of this. I came in with a ton of energy, a ton of optimism, a really open and kind of accepting kind of mentality on how I wanted to approach this new team and this new season and really just this new chapter of life. But what I very, very quickly started to find out was that things were not meshing. Things were not lining up. The teammates were great. I loved being in the desert. But there was a sense of connection that was just absolutely missing. Those relationships, the strength of those relationships, the comfort, friendship I found up in Iowa, I was not finding here. You layer that with the fact that, just to be real, your boy wasn't getting a whole lot of playing time. I was not finding the court a whole lot in those first few months, and I started to get a little uncertain if this was realistically going to be my path. So here we are again, right? This journey, this saga continues. Out of high school, thinking this is what my life is going to be about. Quickly realizing, holy crap, maybe it's not. All right, I'll try another path. I try the other path and realize, hey, this is not what I want either. So let's get back on the train. I do that, I make it through the years in Iowa, and then I think I am home free, just to find out once again, whoa, not so fast. Life has other plans in store. About 7 games into the season, I'll never forget this. I remember hitting a point where, frankly, I physically didn't want to be there. Mentally, I most certainly did not want to be there. So one Wednesday afternoon, I sat in reflection in my apartment and decided to walk to my coach's office, and I quit. I remember being, frankly, in tears while doing it, which was very conflicting. I was so over it, yet it was so difficult to let go of. I don't think it was just the game of basketball, and it certainly wasn't just that team or that coaching staff that I was feeling that sensation around. But realistically, it was because it was kind of like saying goodbye to a part of me, a part of who I was, a part of my identity. For the next few weeks, I kind of just floated in the abyss of life, if you will. I didn't really know what to do with myself. I was loving all of this extra time and freedom, and my body was feeling great, wasn't quite so sore, but still something was missing. I had lived the last however many years of my life with a very clear intention, a very clear purpose, and I needed to find that again. So I did a little bit of soul searching. I remember sitting in my apartment on my computer, rapidly searching, trying to figure out what the next step might be for me. It was somewhat out of a complete, stroke of luck. I'm not quite sure, but I started to think about the fact that, I really do love psychology. That's what I had been majoring in for my undergrad. And here I am, no longer a basketball player, frankly, due to my psychology. I wonder if there's any sort of intersection here. I wonder if work exists in this field. So I did a quick little Google search and very quickly found out that yes, people were doing this work. There was sports psychologists all over the place. I was entranced. I was absolutely mesmerized by this idea. You mean I get to talk about the mind and the psychological games we so often play with ourselves, while at the same time doing it in a context of sport and athletics? This was like the best thing ever to me. So I remember I drafted up an email and fired it out to all the local professionals, seeing if I could maybe have a conversation with them. This is when things really started to take an interesting direction. One day, I'll never forget it, I was at this little local Middle Eastern restaurant that I really loved to eat at. And as I was standing there, my phone rang. As I glanced down on it, it was a gentleman named Sean Kelly Quinn. He was a sports psychologist that worked in that area alongside a gentleman named Trevor Moad. Trevor and Sean were a dynamic team. Trevor had been in the industry for quite a while and was world renowned as, frankly, one of the best. working with massive programs like Alabama football, Georgia football, even Florida State and Dabo Swinney down there. I was absolutely shook, to be quite frank, especially when he said, hey, we got an internship opportunity here. If you're down, I suggest you put an application in. Frankly, folks, since that day, nothing has been the same. That was the catalyst I needed to jumpstart this journey. This is the whole reason I'm sitting here talking to you now. I had reached out, somebody recognized it, gave me an opportunity, and the rest is history. From there, I had an incredibly fascinating next 2 or 3 years. I headed up to Northern California for graduate school at John F. Kennedy University, learned with a ton of really smart individuals, and started to get my hands dirty. Just over those 2 years in that program, I worked hundreds of hours working directly with athletes, working directly with youth, trying to figure out how we can use mental tools and strategies and perspectives to help us live a more enjoyable life and perform better at whatever it is the heck we do. I was on cloud nine. I mean, I was really rocking and rolling here. It was sweet. I was loving it. But then graduation came. And very shortly after graduation came COVID. And at that point, here we were again, having a passion, but no idea where to take it. It was about 6 months later that things took a very interesting turn. And this journey that I was on was about to change in an entirely new way. You see, one day I was on Indeed or LinkedIn, one of these sites, and I was searching for job opportunities, which I was quickly figuring out were far and few in between in the world of sports psychology. And I came across a listing for a wellness retreat out in Hawaii. They were looking for a mindset coach, and the description asked for a lot of what I do. I said, well, this is absolutely crazy, but hey, I'd love to live in Hawaii. Why not, right? Kick back on the beach, little pina colada. That's what they do out there, right? Well, months passed by. I heard nothing until one day out of the blue, I got an email back. After about 6 or 7 more interviews, I was on a plane heading to Hawaii for my new home. A small island called Lanai, wedged right in between Maui and Molokai. An absolutely beautiful place, quiet, serene, I mean, just out of an absolute storybook. I lived there for about the next year, working with incredible professionals in business, tech, medicine, law, all of these industries, partnering up and diving in one-on-one on how we can use our mind to perform at our highest level possible. It opened my worldview to what was possible and what was out there, right? Where could these skills and these tools really be applied? From there, I was loving it so much, I was jumping at whatever opportunity came next. Our company very quickly opened a second property back on the mainland in Southern California in Palm Springs. And I said, buy me a ticket, I'm heading there. Over the next year, this just absolutely awesome journey continued. I got the chance to meet with many more fascinating individuals from all over the world and really had a chance to work with professionals in different domains and find interesting ways to blend and integrate all these different best practices. This included nutrition, this included movement, exercise physiologists, this included meditation and yoga and massage therapy. It was absolutely remarkable. An absolute playground and a blessing to get to spend 2+ years of my life there. Well, not long after that, the rest of life was calling, and my then fiance had moved to the East Coast. We had been doing long distance this entire last 2.5 years, and it was time for that to come to a close. So I looked at myself one day, really thought through it, and decided, all right, it's time to make the jump. I've worked with some incredible individuals. I've learned so much, and now it's time to take it to the next level. I want to start doing this for myself. So I made the move to Philadelphia, drove across the country, just me, my dad, and my little Subaru Impreza, trekking 10, 12-hour days, 4 days in a row, and finally we made it. And frankly, folks, that's what brings us to here. That's what's gotten us to this exact moment. Since landing here in the Northeast, since calling Philadelphia home, I've been absolutely pumped to jump into the golf scene here, to start partnering up with individuals and coaches and facilities and whomever it may be, to see how we can bring the world the awareness of mental skills to the forefront of the conversation. And really, that's what my mission is here with you, right? You've heard my journey. I've been that athlete at that point who wanted it so freaking bad. But at the end of the day, didn't have the mental strength, didn't have the mental resilience, didn't have the confidence to do it, to put in the right type of work, to take the right type of risks. And I'll tell you straight up, that's an absolutely miserable feeling. I'm so incredibly happy that now I have the opportunity to partner up with folks so that they can avoid that. You don't have to run through the same situations and the same problems and the same roadblocks that individuals like myself already have, right? Let's take the science, let's take the research, and let's take real world application and let's bring it together to make you your best self on and off the course. That, my friend, is what it's all about. Where this journey will go next, I have absolutely no idea. In just about 3 or 4 weeks from recording of this video, I'll be headed to Mexico to jump into a new endeavor. So you'll certainly be seeing updates from there if you're watching all these videos. But the one thing I do know about this journey is I want you to be part of it. This is great and all, talking to a camera by myself in this room alone, but I want some compadres. I want some folks to come and take this journey with me, right? So please, subscribe to the channel, like this video, just drop a comment below. Let me know where you're from, when you started playing the game, and let's walk this path together. It's been an absolute beautiful journey that I'm on thus far, and I want to keep this thing rolling. So I hope you now know a little bit more about me. I hope you're down to take this journey together, and frankly, friends, let's go play some great golf.